An American F-15 was shot down over Iran 3 days ago. One crew member is still missing. And tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, Trump's deadline to bomb Iran's power plants expires. This is the most dangerous night of this war. Here is what you need to know before that clock hits zero. 37 days into Operation Epic Fury, the war has reached a turning point that nobody fully predicted. 2 US aircraft were shot down over Iranian territory. Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 executed a rescue operation deep inside Iran. And the April 6th deadline, the one Trump has extended twice, expires tonight. What happens in the next 24 hours will define the next phase of this war. And the signals coming from both sides are the most contradictory we have seen since day one. Let's get into it. Development 1. The F-15 is down, and one crew member was behind enemy lines. On April 3rd, an Iranian surface-to-air missile shot down a US Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle during a night mission over southwestern Iran. A second US combat aircraft was shot down near the Strait of Hormuz the same day. 2 planes lost in 24 hours, the worst single day of American aircraft losses since the Gulf War. One crew member was rescued immediately. The second, an Air Force colonel, was behind enemy lines inside Iran for 2 days. On April 5th, Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 executed a rescue operation to recover him. The mission succeeded. Netanyahu called it a perfectly executed American mission and said Israel contributed to the rescue. But the fact that Iran shot down 2 American aircraft in a single day changes the threat calculus of this war permanently. Iran's air defense network, the one the US declared largely destroyed in the first week, is not destroyed. It adapted, and it is now killing American planes. Development 2. The April 6th deadline expires tonight. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Trump's deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz expires. This is the third deadline. Trump issued the first on March 21st, 48 hours. He extended it to April 6th. Tonight, that extension runs out. Iran's response this morning was unambiguous. A senior Iranian official said the strait will not be reopened until Iran is fully compensated for war damages. The IRGC's operational headquarters warned that if hostilities expand, the gates of hell will be opened. Trump this morning posted that time is running out and repeated his threat to strike power plants, oil wells, Karg Island, and desalination facilities. 3 deadlines, 3 extensions. Tonight we find out if this one is real. Before day 1 of deadline night, subscribe right now. We cover this war as it happens, every development, every day. Development 3. Delta Force and SEAL Team 6. Just operated inside Iran. Let that sink in. The United States military's 2 most elite special operations units, the ones that killed bin Laden, the ones that hunt the world's most dangerous targets, just conducted a combat rescue operation on Iranian soil. This is the first confirmed insertion of US Special Operations Forces into Iranian territory in the history of the conflict between the 2 countries. The operation involved hundreds of special operations troops and US military and intelligence personnel. It lasted 2 days. It succeeded, but its strategic implications extend far beyond the rescued colonel. Iran now knows that US Special Operations Forces can operate inside its territory. The psychological impact of that knowledge on Iranian commanders, particularly those responsible for protecting high-value targets, cannot be overstated. The rescue mission was not just a rescue, it was a demonstration. Development 4. Iran hit Tel Aviv's military headquarters. On April 4th, an Iranian missile struck in the vicinity of the IDF's Kiryat headquarters in Tel Aviv, Israel's equivalent of the Pentagon. The Kiryat is the most protected military installation in Israel. It sits in the heart of Tel Aviv. Its targeting represents a significant escalation in the precision and ambition of Iran's missile campaign. Iran has now demonstrated it can reach Israel's military command center. Whether the strike caused meaningful damage to the facility itself is unclear, but the signal it sends to Israeli military planners is not. Iran is targeting command and control, not just civilian areas, not just air defense installations. The headquarters from which Israel's entire military operation is directed. Development 5. Iran's air defense is still fighting. The US declared Iran's air defense network largely neutralized in the first week of Operation Epic Fury. The F-15 shootdown proves that assessment was wrong, or that Iran has rebuilt, dispersed, and adapted its air defense capabilities faster than US intelligence predicted. This matters enormously for what comes next. If Trump strikes power plants tonight, those strikes will be executed by aircraft and cruise missiles operating in airspace where Iran can still shoot back. The risk to American pilots is not theoretical, it is demonstrated. The F-15 crew that went down on April 3rd was flying a night mission, presumably with every available advantage in stealth, electronic warfare, and intelligence support. They were still hit. Iran's air defense is not dead. It is wounded, dispersed, and dangerous. Development 6. The Strait is barely open, and Iran is charging tolls. Before this war, approximately 130 ships per day transited the Strait of Hormuz. Today, that number is 6 or fewer, and every one of those 6 ships has coordinated with Iran and almost certainly paid a transit fee. The Iranian parliament is moving to formally codify toll collection on the Strait of Hormuz into law, permanently monetizing the world's most important waterway, regardless of how this war ends. India has resumed purchasing Iranian oil for the first time since 2019. A French shipping company vessel crossed the strait, apparently the first European vessel to do so since the war began, likely in coordination with Iran. Japan and Oman have also arranged crossings. Iran is selectively reopening the strait to countries that deal with it directly, on its terms, at a price it sets. This is not the full reopening Trump demanded. It is Iran demonstrating that it controls access, and that countries are already accepting that reality. Development 7. The IRGC Military Council is running Iran. A military council of senior IRGC officers has reportedly taken de facto control of Iran, bypassing President Pezeshkian and cutting him off from the new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who has not been seen in public since his appointment and is believed to have been wounded. IRGC Chief Ahmad Vahidi has reportedly vetoed all of Pezeshkian's proposed cabinet appointments. The civilian government of Iran exists in name only. This matters for the diplomatic track more than almost anything else. Trump says he is in serious discussions with a new, more reasonable Iranian regime, but the entity making decisions in Tehran is not the civilian government. It is the IRGC Military Council, the hardest of hardliners, the faction least likely to accept any terms short of complete US withdrawal. When you understand who is actually in the room making decisions in Tehran, the gap between Trump's optimism about a deal and reality becomes clear. Development 8. NATO called a paper tiger. Allies are fracturing. Trump blasted NATO as a paper tiger this week for failing to back the US on Iran. The alliance fracture is real and widening. Germany condemned the strikes. France has pushed for negotiations. Italy's Prime Minister is warning of fuel shortages. The UK is involved militarily, but under enormous domestic political pressure. Meanwhile, fuel shortages are already appearing at Italian airports. Air BP Italia warned of limited jet fuel at 4 Italian airports from April 2nd through April 9th. Shell warned Europe could face broader fuel shortages this month. The coalition that launched this war, essentially the US and Israel, is increasingly isolated diplomatically. Every week the war continues, the political cost in allied capitals rises. Trump called NATO a paper tiger. NATO's response, largely, was silence. Development 9. The rescue mission changes. Everything about ground operations. Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 just proved they can get in and get out of Iran. The Washington Post reported weeks ago that the Pentagon was preparing for weeks of limited ground operations. Raids on Karg Island, coastal sites near the Strait of Hormuz. The rescue mission is the proof of concept. US Special Operations Forces can operate on Iranian soil, execute a complex mission under hostile conditions, and extract successfully. The question is no longer whether the US can conduct ground operations in Iran. The rescue mission answered that. The question is whether Trump will authorize the expansion of those operations, and whether Karg Island is next. 3,500 Marines are aboard the USS Tripoli in the region. The 82nd Airborne has deployment orders. The assets are positioned. The capability is demonstrated. The decision is the only thing that hasn't been made. Development 10. What happens at 8 p.m. tonight? 3 scenarios. One of them happens in the next few hours. Scenario 1. Trump strikes Iran's power plants. The power plant strikes trigger Iranian retaliation against Gulf energy infrastructure. Oil spikes past $130. The war enters its most destructive phase. Scenario 2. Trump extends the deadline again. Iran interprets this as confirmation that the threats are negotiating tactics with no firm floor. The Strait stays closed. The economic pressure continues building. The war drags into its 3rd month. Scenario 3. A back-channel deal emerges in the next few hours that gives Trump enough to declare progress, partial reopening of the Strait, some gesture on compensation, allowing him to pause the deadline without calling it an extension. All 3 are possible tonight. None of them end this war. What tonight decides is the trajectory, escalation, stalemate, or the first real movement toward an exit that both sides can accept. 37 days. 2 aircraft down, Delta Force inside Iran. 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be covering every development as it happens. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Which scenario do you think happens tonight? Trump strikes, extends again, or a back-channel deal emerges at the last minute? Drop your answer below. The most accurate prediction gets pinned.